Hong Kong driving Australian property. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Still working through my stein of coffee as one does, I thought we'd look at this article. It's discussing the Hong Kong unrest and driving more property purchases over here. And can you guess which sector of the property market it's affecting? The upper side. And what's going to skew the huge property growth, the returning boom that everyone's talking about, and the auction clearance rates? I wonder. So this shows you this is a big unknown, which people have mentioned before in the comments, and I thought it'd be definitely worth reading through. So, with no end to Hong Kong's political crisis in sight, more people are looking to leave the Chinese territory. Now, if we go back to this reference here from the Foreign Investment Review Board, the black line is the amount of foreign investment. You can see between 2014 to 2016, it peaked at over 90%. 30% of that was Chinese investment. So, are there enough people trying to get out of Hong Kong to lift up the market, to spur the market up, or are they just going to go in the higher end? So there's been a surge in interest in Australian properties, with both wealthy elites and professionals preparing to emigrate amid ongoing unrest. Hong Kong wine seller Chow Fuk Yao is hoping to move to Adelaide with his young family on a business visa and plans to set up a company exporting Australian wines to Hong Kong. Aren't those a dime a dozen? I've met a lot of people doing that. Mr. Chow, 32, said he was leaving partly because of the political situation, but also because Hong Kong's high cost of living and weak economy was taking a toll. So why is he going to Adelaide, of all places? I heard the other day that the South Australian state government is at risk of being the most indebted in the entire country. I guess because of the nice wine down there, but still. I think for education, for the environment, for children growing up, Australia is a good place compared to Hong Kong, Mr. Chow said. Yeah, well, I've been to Hong Kong. It is a beautiful city, or it was when I was there, particularly on the island. So territory's economy is stalling. Last week, Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, said she expected the city's economy to slip into a technical recession in the third quarter because of the months of protests. The anti-extradition law protests have morphed into a wider calls for more political freedom from China, but also fueling the fire is the growing gap between rich and poor and the most unaffordable home prices in the world. Yes, it's a different culture to over here, guys. It's very drastic. We were staying in Parkview, one of the expat apartments. They're right on top of the mountain. It's beautiful. Hong Kong-based Australian registered migration agent John Hugh told the ABC he had seen a big rise in inquiries and sales since the protests began in June, with many people looking to get business or investment visas for Australia. We've enjoyed a significant increase in monthly sales, as sales have gone up 4 times, he said. For inquiries, we are reaching about 1,000 a month, and they are asking for different countries, and of course Australia is on the top of the list. Mr. Hughes said his firm was processing hundreds of skilled migration visas and business migration visas for Australia. So spike in interest in Australian property. And here's the thing. We're hearing in the media all the time about the return of the boom, You've got people leaving in the comments, oh, it's coming back. Could this be what's driving it? Supply is low, that's been admitted. The auction clearance rates are leaning towards the upper end of the scale. So if you're wealthy and you've got money you're getting out of Hong Kong, are you going to put it around a whole lot of little properties or in one big one? So Australia was the top destination for Hong Kong people immigrating last year, with about 1/3 of immigrants, about 2,400 coming here. See, this is the thing. Culturally, Chinese from Hong Kong are going to I think, integrate much better with Australian civilization than they would with mainland Chinese, because they've been living in Hong Kong. It's very different, very different. Managing Director of Sydney's Sotheby's International Realty, Michael Pallier, said his company had seen a 500% increase in inquiries from Hong Kong compared to last year. He said the new buyers were Hong Kong people who also had Australian citizenship, permanent residency, or who were millionaire investors. So there you go. So this is having an impact on our housing sector, guys. The last 2 months, we've seen a large spike in interest from people who are from Hong Kong, he said. Before, it was all mainland Chinese who were coming out. Now, there are just as many inquiries from Hong Kong, and obviously with the instability, a lot of people there are living in Hong Kong, are thinking maybe long-term it's better to move to Australia. Well, it probably would be. just to ensure your freedoms, even though, they're still getting chipped away here in Australia. So he sells high-end properties ranging from 3 million to 30 million, with a lot of clients in the finance industry who want to move to wealthy areas in Sydney with elite private schools. It's not only Hong Kong Chinese. There are just as many expats that are contacting us, Mr. Pallier said. One has already bought a house from us for just over 10 million, moving back to Australia. REA Group said searches on its property website from Hong Kong for Australian property had increased by 1/3 from the same time last year, with Sydney, Melbourne and Adelaide the most popular cities. Oh, why not Brisbane? Why not Brisbane? The weather here is fantastic. Well, there you go. Focus on the top end of the market. So there you go. Yes, it's all coming together, isn't it, guys? Do you still think there's a boom happening? Do you still think there's a recovery? Is this the external forces that's driving this perceived growth? Crown Group, says Director Parissa Edwards, said inquiries from Hong Kong were up 300% and sales have increased by up to 30% for the firm's luxury apartments. Ms. Edward said a wide range of Hong Kongers were looking for local homes. Basically, any mum or dad, she said. What we've seen is someone who has a link, maybe their children already studied here and went back to Hong Kong to work and came back just to see and look for property. There are some young professionals who already have permanent residency, went back to Hong Kong and lived there, and now would like to buy in Sydney. I can see that happening. I can see young people going back Hong Kong and then thinking, okay, time to have kids and settle down. Let's go back to Australia. It's better. It's better. I mean, Hong Kong is really crowded. It's just such a busy city and so exciting. George Chamil, chairman of Juwai, the biggest property website in the world for Chinese buyers, has seen the same trend, with interest in both high-end properties and the mass market. We've seen quite a noticeable increase in inquiries for Australian properties, up by 50% since the protests have started, he said. Mr. Chamil said the ongoing political unrest was hurting confidence in Hong Kong. What has happened is the confidence has been shaken in the market, and if the protests continue, that will have a long-term impact. The confidence in the Hong Kong property market, he said. Well, there you go. So is this what the strategy is for Australia to drive up property prices? So housing prices are unlikely to be affected. However, he said the increased interest from Chinese territories was unlikely to have much impact on Australian home prices because Hong Kong buyers made up only 1.5% of total inquiries and purchases. With Australia's strict immigration laws and restrictions on foreign investment in property, Hong Kong people are also looking closer to home. In a recent survey, Taiwan outranked Australia as the #1 destination for migration. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has offered political asylum to Hong Kong people. So Hong Kong's most popular destinations: Taiwan, Australia, Canada, Japan. There we go. Mr. Edwards said Malaysia and Thailand had become more popular, but the US, Canada, Singapore and Europe also remain sought after. Australia is quite attractive because of the weather, because of the time zone, because it's the closest Western country from Asia. But Hong Kong people have a lot of choices, she said. The Hong Kong government has so far ruled out imposing foreign exchange controls as Hong Kongers move their assets offshore. So what do you all think, everyone? Do you think this will have an impact on the Australian property market, even though it's only 1.5%? But there is a reduction in supply, and this could be affecting the upper end of the market. You know, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to help me produce more of this type of content, I have a Patreon and a Subscribe Star where you can make a small financial contribution, and I really appreciate it. I also have referral links where if you use them, I receive a small bonus. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps support the channel. Thank you all very much. Take care, and I will talk to you later today. See you later. Now I just got to find my outro. There it is. Bye for now.